Ever wonder what a homeschool class would look like if it were built on widely accepted leading academia teaching theories? Theories that are part and parcel to the fields of education psychology, despite how dense that subject can be. You know, theories that were created by leading theorists in the past 150 years or so. Skinner and Dewey and Thorndike and Piaget and Vygotsky and Love and Wegener and all others. I know I certainly wanted to know what it would look like. I'm Dana Houston Jackson, and having just graduated at Western Oregon University with a new Bachelor's of Science, after 14 years of persistence at various colleges as life moved me around, I'm now on a journey for my Master's of Education in Instructional Design and Info Technology. One of the first classes in my program was Ed 611, which covers the many teaching and learning theories as they've popped up over the years out of this education psychology field. Currently, I'm planning to homeschool my precocious 10-year-old son, Hunter, next year for his 5th grade. 4th grade went pretty well, so we thought we'd give it another year. But I was curious to know if I could consolidate these various teaching theories into a homeschool setting. And more importantly, what would that look like? You gotta keep in mind that formalized mandatory schooling for all children was not fully put into effect until the start of the 20th century, and that schooling was built on a mass output modeled on industry. Before that, the only options were homeschooling, maybe private schooling or a tutor, or a centralized school of some sort that could be miles or even cities away. No fun. Some of our most influential philosophers, Socrates, Plato, Aristotle, Democritus, Quintilian, and many others, each discuss their views of youth education, and those can be difficult to implement in this industrial mass education model that our public school system was founded on and is structured around. You know, views such as the need to take into account individual differences and unique characteristics of students. But these views are very possible to implement in a homeschool situation. But all that aside, let's start with the big teaching theories of the past 150 years or so, and how these could be implemented in a homeschool scenario. There's a load of theorists and theories involved, so instead of slamming down a bunch of names, I'm just going to briefly cover their ideas as I understand them and how I could apply them to my homeschool scenario. We'll start with the behaviorist. These guys are all about structure, predictability, routine, rituals, rewards and penalties, drilling, and stimulus response. The idea being that children are empty vessels waiting to be filled with the right stuff, and as we are the experts, that's our job to be authoritative and know more than they do so that we can fill them up with this right stuff. The types of things that I could take away from these theories and apply to my homeschool scenario would be things like a strict schedule, classroom rules, math facts, drilling of the rote memorization of science facts and dates and things that you just gotta know. So using Excel, I put together a schedule that adds predictability and structure, routine, and drilling. It gives a balance of what I find valuable in this theory, while acting to organize and accommodate later theories that I found more useful when treating my son like the individual that he is. Of course, there would still be the prize box for course completions, and I have to be careful not to give him attention or get too mad at bad behavior, because that's just the negative reinforcement when he wants attention. Sure, I'll use timeouts, mainly so we both can simmer down. No faster way to get a student to distrust you than to get angry with them. But the worst penalty in Hunter's mind is when I take away the computer free time for rule breaking. I'm not afraid to use that one as it helps to keep in discipline and keep promises made. Sure, I have exams at the end of each course. Behaviorists go for grades and leave it at that. I don't. I take it a step further, and if he misses a question, then we go back and find out what he didn't understand. 100% is the name of our game. After all, he'll need a solid foundation in whatever he is learning so that he can easily add the next piece of knowledge on top of his existing knowledge. The next group of theories are the Constructivism, cognitive, schema, scaffolding. These guys are rational. Students are active participants in acquiring knowledge, and they can use it in the real world. It's all about letting the students take part in their own education and designing their own lessons. Students have to choose to learn. Educators have to be creative and positive role models. Various cultures and their views in the classroom are supported, not ironed out. In these theories, new knowledge is built on existing pieces of knowledge. That's the schema theory. Teachers are just there to facilitate and are facilitators. They're not authoritative downloaders that download into empty minds. Learning is considered a process, not a product. This group of theories recommends that I show him audio-video products, science and language videos, infographics, pictures, etc., all to help organize the knowledge that's in his head. These are the theories that recommend we use technology to come and support learning. In the social constructivism theory, teachers have to push students out of their comfort zones and into their ZPD, or zone of proximal development. That's where students can't accomplish tasks alone, but instead they need instructor help to get to the next stage of development. So his personal ability is king here. I push Hunter past, or sometimes take him back, to whatever formal grade materials we are in until we find his ZPD. I mean, that's where my teaching and his actual learning takes place. But boy, does he reel when I push him out of that sweet spot and try to take on too much too fast. In these cognitive theories, you want him to use debate freely. You gotta have formalized and informal but controlled debates. This is the theory that recommends we teach and practice logic, folks. In this theory, educators are just facilitators. They're there to help the students through to the next level. The students are driving their own learning. Let the students question the facts instead of taking it at face value. We want to promote students to formulate their own questions, inquiry. We're supposed to allow multiple interpretations and expressions of learning, multiple intelligences, and encourage group work and the use of peers as resources, collaborative learning, project-based learning. As part of these theories, I have to teach Hunter media literacy. In fact, we just started a new set of lessons using this material because I just completed my own media literacy class at Western Oregon, and boy, did I find out I was deficient in it. I also have to teach him how to research, and that's something we have been doing for a while, but now I'm supposed to challenge his findings when he's old enough to really find the truth. But before 5th grade or 4th grade, I didn't care what his answers were. I just wanted him to know that he could look and find an answer, period. I mean, that's a skill in itself, that it's safe enough to look and get an answer and no one's going to jump on you because it's wrong. You know, count the chairs and he comes back with 1,000 and he's in kindergarten, that's fine. Or how many books on bees on the bookshelf. It doesn't matter the answer. How long is your hair, and he has to work out how to measure it. Good. He did the effort to actually find an answer, and that's what's most important before we get into criticizing the answer itself. For Hunter, I stole an idea and created a formalized paper facilitator for his various subjects he's trying to learn. It's called a check sheet or sometimes a checklist. I put this one together for his earth science, and you're just seeing a part of it, but the checklist lists all the materials and kits and audio video products, etc. he's going to need, and the various steps in sequence that he needs to take to learn the subject. This check sheet allows him to go at his own pace and thus be in control of his own learning, but it also allows me to be in control, as the steps I've written should be in his zone of proximal development, and they should be getting him to look above and beyond his own current understandings. There are places that I have to check his understanding and sign off on this check sheet, and thus I can catch any misunderstandings right away. I mean, if you can't demonstrate a theory, it is usually some kind of misterminology or something that I can jump on right then and there and help him out with it, not wait until he fails an assessment/test. By then it's too late. I mean, you've already tried to pack additional learnings on top of these earlier learnings that he's supposed to have down solid. So the whole theory kind of goes awry when you can't jump on a misunderstanding right when it's occurring. Personally, this is where I think adaptive learning software might be able to help us even more than the inventors are personally envisioning, I think. This next set of theories are the situative, communities of practice, and these guys are pragmatic, man. It's all about real-world application. These guys are all about the knowledge created by being in the social situation, social interaction, socially mediated activity, communities of practice, apprenticeships, on-the-job training, internships, that kind of thing. I think this set of theories comes most natural to homeschoolers. How we've applied it and how we will apply it in our whole homeschool scenario is Hunter's involved in junior rangers, and he has been since he was 5. Now that he's 10, he will soon be involved in Boy Scouts. And this is perfectly in line with situative learning. Also in alignment with this theory is I have Hunter attend lots and lots of camps over summer and the various breaks. Homeschool days at local museums and centers, and volunteering. These are all great applications of situative learning. Another application is sports, both individually, because we're talking about socially mediated activities, as well as group sports. Although field trips are part of cognitive learning too, I think that they're a key part to situative learning, but to sites that mean the most to his own personal future goals, whatever they might be for now. I mean, lately, thanks to Khan Academy and ID Tech Camp, he's been into computer programming. So when his father went down to California on a business trip, he accompanied him and went down to Silicon Valley and got to actually see what it would be like to live in a city. What's traffic like? What are these buildings? And go into the buildings and tour them and meet some of the people who work them. I mean, at 10 years old, I can't get him an internship at Google, but he can most certainly get a feel and get his senses all activated with regards to what goes on in this area. So yeah, field trips are used to reinforce educational concepts, but I think at this age he really needs to see what it's like to be an adult in the field that he's interested in. I mean, I want him to make plans to be a successful adult and live out of the house on his own salary. So the more real-life situations I put him in and he feels comfortable taking care of himself in, then per situative learning theory, the more actual, applicable societal knowledge and skill he will pick up. For example, yesterday my son came to me wanting to start an online business after reading some ad he received on his computer. So after researching the company with him to get him convinced not to spend his $25 on a pyramid marketing scam, I set up a meeting with the neighbor who actually does have a valid online business. And she came up and she showed him her business and told him what it would take for him to have an online business and how taxes are paid and how she gets paid and what kind of things she produces online and, what does she do? So this is another example of the type of internship, quote unquote, or at least awareness you can have a 10-year-old achieve, even though he can't maybe necessarily go intern on it. So in summary, yes, it's actually quite easy to apply the formalized teachings and learning theories to a homeschool classroom. There's no one theory that dictates my every move as an educator. I mean, that's the art of being a teacher. In fact, I'd have to say it's probably easier to apply all of these learning theories in a homeschool situation than in a public school situation. Which finally brings me to the article by Pugh and Girard. I mean, this is the article that had the most profound effect on me and how I plan to educate in the future. My goal is to create transformative aesthetic experiences for my son and anyone else I'm trying to educate. That's what this article is all about. How to create transformative aesthetic experiences.